I was playing Dota 2 the other day, and there was this guy on my team. He sucks. And you know what? It is what it is. I don't play ranked anymore. I play arcade mode games. Like, so I'm not like mad about it, but I can tell he's feeding the opposing team. He has zero impact. But hey, whatever. Win or lose, this is unranked. So after seeing this dude literally go 7 and 41, he only had 30 assists. 7 and 41, 30 assists. This dude trash. So after the game, my friend and I, we hopped into another lobby. All right, listen, win some, lose some. Let's go to the next game, right? And while we were waiting, the same guy joined the lobby, right? And we were waiting. He's still in the lobby with us. And, I was curious about how much hours he had in Dota because he might be new. So I shouldn't pass judgment if he's a new player and he's playing poorly. Maybe he's trying to learn. You know what I'm saying? I can't be that guy. So I go to his Steam profile. This dude has 9,000 hours. I was bamboozled by this information. I was distraught. But what really threw me off was his profile, his design and everything. His Steam bio, it said in italics, I am a god. You know, on the Steam profile where it shows the part where you're supposed to put your full name, right? But nobody does that, right? For the most part, at least. He put his real name as God. 9,000 hours, 7 and 41, 30 assists, and you call yourself a god. That probably explains why this guy sucks. He thinks he's too good where there's no need for improvement. And by the way, it wasn't just one bad game, because we all have it, right? And the next game we hopped into, he was trash even more. See, I always had an interesting perspective on this. And I was talking to somebody about this last week. You ever hear someone say, I am a god? You ever hear someone say that? And many times people will say you're egotistical. Like, who does this guy think he is calling himself a god? He thinks he's God? You might sometimes admire the confidence, but it can be a moment of narcissism. Historically speaking, pharaohs, emperors, or even prophets called themselves gods. And the reaction was often fear, or they built a following, or they became worshipped. But I have a theory, right? And this may sound schizo, but hear me out. And this is why I was explaining to my friend. I remember when I was in the hospital and all they had for me to read was the Bible. I was so bored, I took the time to read it. This had to be like 6 years ago, by the way. There was a story that I felt was so delusional that I nearly closed the book. And I just said, let me die in the hospital right now. This is how stupid this story is, right? So in the Bible story, Moses was out here tending to his sheep, right? You know, Moses, right? He's a shepherd, being a shepherd and all that, right? So Moses, while he was doing this, he sees something in the distance. Wait, no, sheep don't make that sound. What am I saying? So he's doing the sheep thing, and then he sees a bush, not a tree exactly, a bush is smaller. He sees a bush that's on fire. But it's weird because even though the bush is on fire, it's not burning up. How can a tree be on fire and not burn? This is odd. So already this story defies logic. So I was in the hospital, I was croaking in my bed because it got worse. The flaming bush says, Moses, Moses. So now it's talking. Okay, a non-burning bush can speak. Moses is like, oh my, I'm scared. Sheep, run away, sheep. You're calling my name, bush? Here I am. And the bush says, do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. So, you know, Moses takes off his zesty gladiator sandals, and his feet were pedicured, by the way, because, you know, back in the biblical days, people took off their people took care of their feet often. They couldn't afford socks or a pair of Jordans. So, and then the bush goes, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hides his face because he realizes, oh, wait, this is God. I can't look upon God. Like, literally, this is God right here, this burning bush. Then God tells Moses that he heard the cries of the Israelites who are suffering in Egypt from slavery. He then tells Moses that he must go to the Pharaoh of Egypt and tell him, hey, release the Israelites. Moses is like, bruh, I just fled Egypt. You telling me to walk right back into that land and demand all my Jewish homies get released? That's literally asking me to walk to my death. So Moses, scared for his life, he questions God and says something like, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? Who am I to do that? God simply replies, I will be with you. Moses is like, okay, so I don't have the power to do this alone, but if God is with me, then I can do anything. That's one of the lessons of the story of the burning bush, by the way, but let me get to the point or theory I have, right? So Moses, even though he agrees to do this, to travel back to Egypt, he asks another question, which I think is very reasonable. Moses says, if I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And that part is important. It's a very deep question. He's not asking what God's label is, but who truly is God? What is God's name? The sacred name of God. And God says in Hebrew, but I'll say it in English, right? God says his name is, I am who I am. That's his name. I am. Don't get confused by how I'm saying this. I am, like I am Aku, the I am in that sentence, the title of this video, that's God's name. I am. So he says, this is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. Now, when I first read this part of the story when I was in the hospital, I was so confused and puzzled. It was ridiculous to me. You got this flaming bush talking to you saying he's God? That could be somebody behind that bush trolling you right now. And he sends you to death pretty much. I don't know if bro was having some schizophrenic episode. And then you ask for God's name and he reveals it to you? Are you hearing things? Many years later, I started to think about it a little bit more. This is almost like, that whole story, right? It's almost like a moment of self-awareness that may have been overlooked by this story here. Self-awareness. If God's name is I am, my theory is this. You know how people say humans are made in the image of God? That's in Genesis, by the way. God made humans in his image, but God is I am. That implies that God is not separate from his creation, but is present within it. That means us as well. God is within us. God is not some dude sitting in the clouds like contemporary Christianity has done or other religions, right? God's creation is just another manifestation of God. Rather, in the New Testament, Jesus says, I'm sure you heard this before, the kingdom of God is within you. So when God reveals his name, and if God is I am, then when you say I am, you are invoking the same essence within you. For example, forget religion for a second, right? Push religion to the side. We're not going to talk religion for a little bit, right? This is just psychology. If you say, I am a terrible person, I am not good at anything I do. If you keep telling yourself that, you might start to believe it. It might start to reflect on your actions. For those who have social anxiety or anxiety in general, if you have depression watching this video or had depression, you ever say to yourself, I am nervous to speak. I am too nervous to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not good enough to do X, Y, and Z. Then what happens? Most of the time, you don't do it. Your own mental state created a limitation because how you speak about yourself. One of my friends always says to me, he says, Andre, people who talk bad about themselves are bad luck. Why? Because bad stuff always happens to them. And they talk so bad about themselves that barely anything good ever goes on in their life. They never had good news. They limit themselves. They see negativity all the time about life. And people who are constantly negative tend to be downers. They're not fun to be around. They're always complaining about their life. They take the energy away from you because they're so miserable all the time. But I am who I am. You are what you say. Even spirituality, right? You know, people talk about positive affirmations. Say good things about yourself to help manifest wealth, happiness, and so forth, right? It's the same principle. Spirituality wise, what you ask for or put out there in the universe, it may respond to you and give you exactly what you said or constantly put in your mind. What you keep fearing what might happen to you ends up happening to you. Now, I'm not going to give a whole talk about manifestation, whether you believe in it or not, or this woo-woo stuff. My main point is this. The words I am, whether you say it vocally or say it in your head, it's powerful. Psychologically, spiritually, whatever. Going back now to God revealing his name as I am. If God is everywhere and in all things, you, me, your friends, your enemies, everybody and everything, right? I thought something was interesting later in that story. If God is really that. After Moses talks to the burning bush, later he gets the 10 commandments from God. And if you're following the theory and the point I'm making, I don't think those 10 commandments were just instructions. Thou shalt not murder. Well, if God is everywhere and in all things, then hurting yourself or hurting others is like hurting yourself because we're all connected through the same essence. Murdering someone is not just an act against another person, right? It's an act against yourself. If all life comes from the same divine source, hypothetically, because I am, then harming another human being or another being in general is like harming the same spark within yourself. Thou shalt not steal. If everything is truly connected, then when you steal from someone, you are taking from yourself. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Lying and deceiving others is deceiving yourself. Man, you ever lie or deceive somebody and then later realize how much you regret, how much regret you have because they didn't deserve to be lied to or deceived? That ever happened to you? You're basically hurting yourself because that person doesn't even know you lied or deceived them yet. Yet you're the one hurting because you feel guilty. See how hurting other people hurts? Like last one, I could go through all the 10 commandments, but thou shalt not covet. Coveting means to desire what someone else has, right? Thou shalt not covet. It's a mindset of separation. You busy thinking about what others have that you lack. But if we're truly all connected, everything you need is already possible within you. Doesn't mean you have it. It's possible though. Stop hating from outside the club. Being envy and jealous hurts you more than it hurts the people who has the stuff you're jealous or envious about. That person probably doesn't even think about you. They got 10 times more than you and they're living rent free in your head. You're hurting yourself. Thou shalt not covet. You see what I'm saying? I am who I am. Hurting others or feeling a way about others just hurts you. And the power of words can be important. I am worthless. I am a failure. I am unlovable. That spark within you, you're rebelling against it. If God's name is I am, and then every time you say I am, then you are making a declaration about yourself. And if you're religious, the divine spark within yourself is also being influenced. Instead of speaking negatively, how about say, I am, with some more positive affirmations. I am strong. I am capable. I am lovable. I am enough. Just by doing this, you align yourself with a better identity. Sometimes, if you're religious or not, don't let the religious talk or the religious story get in the way of the message here. But if you're religious, you can try to see God in other people. God is in you and God is in others too. I think if you have that mentality, by doing this, this helps lead to more compassion, forgiveness, and even love. Your words may create your own reality at times. Not always, but it's better than speaking negatively. So when people say, I am a God, God's name is already I am. So that's kind of redundant. And it kind of comes off more or less like a narcissistic thing rather than understanding we all have an important presence within ourselves. So that's my whole theory on this. The 10 commandments are not just rules or guidelines. Hey, follow these rules. But it's a deeper spiritual truth about unity and self-respect. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop a comment, leave a like, whatever. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube. Times Square.
Nightmare 7 a.m. in the morning though. No surprise. Times Square's you and I under those lights. No disguise. Don't tell me everything you wanted was a lie. All those city lights, it's an endless night. Never expected you to bring me so much life. Close my eyes too long, then it's time to say goodbye. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Caution. Wait a moment, keep my heart locked away, it's filled with emotion. Gave the key to you, right in front of you is open. Hey, try your best to not leave it broken.